Hello, everybody, and welcome to Eavesdropping at the Movies. I'm José.
I'm Mike.
And we've just come back from seeing The Meg.
Well remembered.
I was going to say Chomp, which should have been the title.
We really wanted it to be called Chomp because when we saw the trailers, they looked fun. Big shark, little girl.
Yes.
Biting a sort of space age underwater test facility, and then he comes up with the big word Chomp.
Yes.
And then it says Chomp on this.
Yes.
And it turns out that the title is actually The Meg.
I know.
Ugh.
I couldn't figure that out at all because Chomp is such a great title.
Chomp is a great title, and I was thinking like you could have like a whole. You could have Jaws, and then Chomp, and then Swallow. Do the whole shark digestive system. It wasn't to be. But this is what I found out just before we saw the film: is that it's based on a novel.
So that's probably why they called it The Meg.
Which, to be fair, Jaws is also based on a novel. But like, just the idea that you couldn't think of a giant shark movie on your own.
Yes.
You had to go to the novel first.
Yes.
It's fucking stupid.
But you found out it's a series, isn't it?
There's a series of novels, right? It's novel. Look at the cover art. It's so cheap. It's called Meg, a novel of deep terror, which came out in 1997. I don't know. I mean, I've never read the novel, so like, I don't know if it's like supposed to be sort of comedy, action, sort of hyped up, because that's what the film kind of is.
Yeah.
I don't know how seriously you're supposed to take the novel, but then the sequels are called The Trench, Primal Waters, Hell's Aquarium, Origins, Night Stalkers, Generations, and Purgatory. So, I hope they make a movie for each novel. I think it's unlikely.
Well,
mind you, this film has been doing very well at the box office.
Yes. Yes, surprisingly well. So we found that it's got a $130 million budget. It's made $44 million in the first weekend in the U.S., $50 million in China, and $96 million overseas overall, which is...
What Wikipedia is telling me is the budget is between 130 and 178 million, and the box office at the moment is 141.
Okay.
So it's basically getting to its budget, and then it will go beyond it.
Yeah.
Because it's still early days for it.
Yes. So it looks like it'll make its money back anyway, which, let me tell you, surprises me. I thought throughout the whole first 2/3 of the film, I thought this is by far the worst film I've seen this year.
Really?
Yes.
Let me just find out what else we've seen this year. Because I'm interested actually to see if I would agree with you. Because I didn't. It's sort of not a good film, but at the same time, I don't think it's a bad film. It is what it is, and actually it does some things quite effectively.
Well, we'll discuss that, and actually, let me tell the story, because when I left the cinema and I was on my way to the toilet, this guy looks at me and says, "It wasn't that bad," and I said, "It was pretty bad," and then he said, "It was shit," and then he started laughing, right?
Yeah.
So there was almost like this feeling that it was like a really trashy, shitty film. But it had left him smiling, right? He wasn't annoyed or bored, or he had a happy face on and he was laughing with me about it. But it's that kind of film, and actually, I stand by kind of what I said earlier, because what happens is that the film for me recovers in the last sequence, right? So actually, there's a moment where you think that it's about to end, but it can't end.
Sorry.
It needs this big spectacle moment at the end. And actually, I do think that that's kind of what saves the film or redeems the film a little bit, really. Even though it's not even very well done either.
Here's a selection of other things we've seen this year. I can't remember if we saw Downsizing this year or if it was right at the tail end of last year. I think it was back in January.
Okay.
Downsizing was awful.
Downsizing was duller, but it wasn't worse than this one.
No, I disagree. I think it's way worse.
No,
it didn't keep my interest. Downsizing. I hated every moment.
Yeah, well, it was too serious for you.
Ready Player One, you really hated.
Yes, I can't. Yeah, but I still think this one was worse.
A Wrinkle in Time.
Oh God, that that's the other candidate.
Rampage, you weren't a fan of, but I mean, I think Rampage is on a similar sort of level to the Meg.
I think I preferred Rampage to this as well, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say those are probably the main candidates.
Yes. Well, I can see. I mean, you know. I mean, let me tell you, I had a lot less fun at downsizing, but that's because, you know,
it's boring as hell.
Well, I think the film had an interesting premise. It was bad in a different kind of way. It was almost like an honest failure, I think. Whereas this one is like so cheap and sleazy and by the numbers, and, you know, kind of sentimental in stupid ways and cliched, and you know, it kind of.
I think that what this film is, rather than being like a bad action movie, I think, you know those sci-fi movies you get, and by sci-fi I mean the Sci-Fi Channel, SYFY, yeah, which are genuinely cheap. Yes. You know, I can't remember what they're called, like Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus and shit like that. Like they are designed to be the absolute shittest things, and they're designed to be like watched ironically.
Yeah.
You know, you don't watch these films and genuinely enjoy them. And what I really despise about those films is that there is just no pride in anything. There's actually no desire to make anything good, and they seem to think it's better if they don't. And you feel like, as an audience member, you feel that you're being held in contempt.
Yes.
And that's not what I feel watching The Meg. And I think this is like the best version of that kind of movie, because it is very, very silly.
Okay.
It is ultimately about a big giant shark coming back from prehistoric times to, you know, terrorize some people. And you're right that it plays up kind of sentimentality and things at times. And I think it is kind of, I don't think it is doing it ironically. I think it is trying to get emotional affect out of it, and it's failing because it's not, it's not good enough at that.
Yeah.
But I think that it understands also what it can do well, and I think some of the action is pretty good. I think the effects are pretty good. I mean, you can tell that it's not a cheap movie.
No, yeah, you can. It's not a cheap movie,
and it has a certain.
It's just a really badly made one.
It has a certain amount of charm. So let's say what it is, right? You've probably got the gist of it from the trailers and things, but basically the idea is that there's a research facility off the coast of China somewhere, and as in it's an underwater research facility. They're going down to the bottom of is it the Marianas Trench, or is it some other trench? Some trench in the sea. They said, we found out that we reckon the sea goes even deeper than we previously thought.
There's a nice gap of some kind that separates one sea from the other.
So there's a sort of band of incredibly low temperature hydrogen, I think it is, they say. I mean, it's all just nonsense, obviously. But if we punch through that, then we might find that it's not the bottom. There's actually stuff below that we've never seen before because it couldn't penetrate this layer. Obviously, that turns out to be true. Obviously, then the thing is released and comes to the surface, and it turns out that this 75-foot-long giant shark that was supposed to have died out years and years and years ago has not died out, somehow has lived, blah, 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 and they have to then escape from it and kill it.
Yeah, there's a great scene with a giant
spoilers
squid.
Here on. Second?
There's a great scene with a giant squid at the beginning, which is, you know, about to crush.
Well, this is kind of emblematic of like why the film, I think, understands sort of how silly it is, because I mean, if these people were actual scientists in the real world, they would have, for one thing, they would actually know how deep this thing was because they'd use something like sonar.
Yes.
They'd send down an unmanned probe. They do this and the other, but of course that's not what they do. What they do is they just send people down and go see what you find.
Yes.
They get attacked and blah blah blah. Like, that's kind of how you know that's the level on which this film was operating, right?
Yes. I mean, to be honest, at the beginning there were moments where I was just laughing at it. You know, it was like really bad, and I still think the only two things that I really enjoyed were Jason Statham taking his shirt off. You know, he's very fit. He does it in every movie, and you know, he's gotten.
And yet you claim the film is stupid.
I know. Well, you know, very shallow desires. So, you know, that was a great moment where he takes his shirt off, and actually, then the action sequences with the shark and them trying to kill the shark and getting away from the shark, you know, all of that I thought was like at the end. Yeah, the last 20-30 minutes were really good. Except that then I also felt a little bit cheated. So, for example, there's this scene where this little poodle with a pink bow,
terrier.
Yeah, and the shark goes right for him, and the film makes you think that it's eaten him, which you go, hurrah! And then actually, at the end, the little pink fucking poodle is alive.
The rule of cinema, unfortunately, is you can't kill the dog, and I really wish they had.
Yes, I wish they had.
Because the film is silly enough, I think, to get away with it.
Yes.
I think a more serious movie would actually need to bring it back to get away with it. It wouldn't be able to get away with it. But I think it could kill whatever it likes, because it kills humans quite freely.
Yes, exactly.
But the dog, it feels like it can't get away with the dog dying.
When the little kids, so there's a scene in which a fat spoiled kid is going to his mom, I'm going in the water, I'm going in the water, I'm going in the water, saying no, and finally she goes, okay, go, and then the film keeps cutting from the kid to the shark, from the kid to the shark, and then so on the one hand, I thought, oh, this film is so, fattest, right? Here is, you have the fat kid who's going to be, a tasty morsel for the shark, right? How terrible of the film. And then on the other hand, when the film cheats you on it, so I felt kind of doubly offended. Yes! I thought, since you set it up, it feels like such a kind of... sentimental trickery not to carry through with
I disagree. It's a thing in films like this where not everything, certain things are set up and then not carried out because it's not, if every single thing that the shark threatens to do actually comes off, then the film is a bloodbath.
I agree, but it had been so predictable about everything else,
Perhaps,
until
but I don't think
point,
it had
really.
been ineffective. For one, I was thinking about Mission Impossible because. I don't remember how much we talked about it really, but in the podcast on Mission Impossible, the action is second to none, right? And everyone has been saying this. The action is just perfect. The way that goals are made clear and they change, and the way information is given to you, and so on and so forth. It's perfect action in Mission Impossible. And I was thinking about it in relation to this, because this is not of that level, but there are parts that I don't think are far off.
Oh, come on, which parts?
Well, exactly. Let me get onto it, you fucking naysayer. I think the best action scene is the one with the plastic shark cage. Where they
yes, that's good.
Right? It's a good action scene because there are it's not as simple as just it's when they're trying to poison the shark, right? And it's not as simple as let's just send you down there and you'll attract the shark and then we'll poison it. That's the main goal. But there are other goals. There's also the goal about saving her, and there's the goal about something else I can't remember. But there are other things going on, and it's very clear to you what these individual kind of side goals are and the obstacles in them. And then things change, because then something happens with the shark, and then the rope keeps snapping, and then it gets caught on this and the other. Things keep changing, and I think tension is kind of ratcheted up quite effectively in that scene, and I think it's good. I think it's a decent action scene.
Everybody who dies in this film, I predicted it. That the fat guy who was in the original Mission, I forget his name.
The Wall. The guy, his friend calls him the Wall.
Okay, the Wall. Well, when he jumps in the first time, that nothing's going to happen. And then exactly when it is going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
So all of those was predictable. I kept the moment where the owner of the base gets chomped, incredibly predictable.
Yeah, of course. I'm not. Why are you expecting surprise?
Well, because I think surprise is kind of a part of what a good action film does. And almost all of the actors were really shit.
Most of the actors were pretty shit. But I also think they died in order of shitness.
Well, that's true to a degree.
Actually, no. To be fair, I think the very first guy that dies is the Chinese guy
who I love
on the sub and
from Heroes, Japanese.
Sorry, Japanese, and he died very quickly. And but it was actually. There are problems with pacing, right? Because it's vaguely set up. So they're in this submersible. There's three of them. There's Jason Statham's ex-wife, which you find out a little bit later, I think, and the Wall, and the Japanese guy from Heroes.
Yes.
And they're in a submersible going down to explore this brave new deep sea world. They get attacked by the big shark, although you don't see it at this point. It's a long time before the film really gives you a good look at the shark.
Yeah.
And they're kind of stranded. So the film starts off as a rescue film, which I didn't expect. And there is this little bit where the Japanese guy from Heroes, whatever his name is writing a note, and he says it's to my wife in case, just in case we die. And then he sacrifices himself to save the others, and he sends a note off with the wall. But and it's a genuine sacrifice. It's an honourable sacrifice, but it's not really built up enough. That you've got that one little scene, but like it comes very, very quickly and very early on. It's like this is something that you feel like would be happening a little bit later, but it's like it starts off very quickly, and so these deaths start coming really rapidly, and they're not.
That's a very poor scene, anyway.
It is a really poor scene. There's a lot in the film that is kind of not built up substantially enough. It's weird, which is why I think that one action scene does stand out, because I think it is well done in that respect. I think it is kind of well paced, and you get you get a good level of sort of investment in what's going on, that sort of thing. But I didn't actually. One of the things that I thought was going to happen, which didn't, which I thought would have made the film more interesting, is so they've had a fight with the shark. And they all managed to get back to, apart from those who've died, they all managed to get back to the research station. And the billionaire who runs the place, who's played by Rainn Wilson, who's famous for playing Dwight from The American Office. He's this billionaire who's been running the place. And he says, we've got transports coming tomorrow to get you all off the base. I came here to celebrate with you, but I'm sorry that it hasn't worked out that way. And he's quite sincere. And then, cut to, he's in a helicopter saying, okay, we're gonna drop these bloody great big bombs.
Yes.
But he's not saying we're gonna drop them on the shark, which is what they end up doing. I thought what he was gonna do was bomb the base and kill everyone. So I thought that was and it was gonna be the evil billionaire that they had to fight.
Yeah.
That would have been way more interesting than just bombing the shark.
Well, I mean, it's just part of the film's incompetence, really. I think part of the problem for me with the film, because I've been watching quite a lot of Chinese films recently. For work reasons, and there's a thing about tone, kind of. A lot of them operate on a different level, they're much more sentimental, and the humor is more broad and more underlined, right? And actually, there were moments in this film where I thought, this film is really aimed primarily at the Chinese market. Really, and not just because of the casting. I thought, some of the last big action sequence, a lot of the humor was really exaggerated, which is very rare to see in Americans. The guy running in the rubber ball, it is kind of more slapsticky, more broad, so, and I thought also the sentimentality with the daughter and and the father and. It's a kind of thing that you see very often in Chinese films that, again, is very rare to see it kind of.
I don't think that's that rare. I mean, the whole thing about a family kind of family troubles or family reunions, you see that all the time in American cinema.
Not in the same way. I thought, for example, the scene with the father and the daughter.
If you say so. I mean. It didn't seem that unusual to me. I do get what you mean about the slightly heightened aspect to some of the visual sort of comedy or the exaggerated aspect. But I certainly feel like I was laughing with the film more than at it. I think I was with the film.
I was laughing.
I was making jokes that I was enjoying.
I was laughing at it for the first 2/3 of the film, for sure. And you were laughing at it too.
I wasn't laughing at it. I wasn't laughing at it. I was laughing with it. I liked it. I was in its zone. I went in understanding that this was a big shark movie with Jason Statham. I mean, if it had Tom Cruise in it, I'd be like, ooh, maybe they're trying to do a proper film.
I love Jason Statham.
Yeah, but the point is, this is its tone though. This is what it is doing. I didn't go in thinking. I just went in knowing what it would be.
Well, I
was right.
No. I went in knowing what it would be as well, and I was wrong for 2/3 of the film. This is what I'm saying. I think the film recovered in the last third. But actually, for the first 2/3 of the film, it was so way beyond worse than I expected.
Two different worlds. I just think you're wrong about that. I don't think it's good, but I don't think it's bad. It's totally mediocre.
I don't think it's mediocre, actually. I think it's really bad, and actually, I think the way that the ways in which it's bad, might be interesting and might help account, for some of the film's success, or, though maybe it's just the first week, so maybe some of the success is just, that people want a big silly movie like that. I mean, I like big silly movies. But I thought, a lot of it just seemed like incompetent, really.
I don't.
The scene with the girl and the ball, that was great, right? When the shark chomps on the thing. But all of the way that it's set up is just like kind of, so predictable. And then the cutesiness with the child kind of, organizing the love life of the mother. I thought that was, so many elements like that, really.
I mean, I get what you mean, but like, I think there was humor in all of it, and the film just kind of had an understanding of what it was and what it was doing. Like it wasn't totally trying to sell it. Like, it was trying to sell the love story, but it wasn't trying to overdo it, and it was doing it with a sense of humor behind it. Like the scene. Okay, so there's a scene where it's Jason Statham, his ex-wife. Yes. In the hospital bed, and the little girl, yes, who's the daughter of the love interest, and the ex-wife is sort of saying like, "Oh, I've heard about you and what's her name? Yeah. You should totally go for it." And then the little girl like whispers, like in that sort of exaggerated way, like, "My mum's into you too," okay. And like, okay, so there's sentimentality there, like they're trying to sell this love story, but also they're just doing it with a bit of humour. And Jason Statham has this line which he tries to make funny, which is, "This might be the worst day of my life." Whatever it is. Like, it's
a good imitation.
So I think I'm not going to defend this as one of the best action movies ever. I think it is totally mediocre, but I think it has a good sense of humour about itself, and I think it's made with a sense, like the central difference between this and those sci-fi movies, it is made with a sense of actually wanting to please an audience, and I like that.
Yes, okay.
Once you're on side, and I think you feel it. How well is Jason Statham cast?
Oh, he's perfect.
I mean, the one thing, like, I was thinking about this, right? This giant, bloody great big shark is incredibly grumpy and attacks everything. Yeah. So he's the perfect enemy.
I love him anyway. I actually think, well, I think he is underrated. There was a period in which he was being poised as the successor of Stallone and Schwarzenegger, i.e. the action hero for this generation. And actually, I think in the Expendables movie, I think it was the second one, that's actually the way that the narrative is set up, right? So he is the inheritor of, these action heroes. He's the new one. And for a while, I thought he was really going to be that, actually. I thought he would be as big as, like, Dwayne Johnson or something, because he'd been making all these films and really interesting ones, like what's the ones with the car where he's the Transporter and the Crank films, and so I thought he would move on from those French produced. I think they're French produced, those films.
Yeah, Luc Besson, aren't they?
Luc Besson, yeah. And then go on to do to headline really big ones, and then kind of something happened. It didn't kind of work out really. Actually, I haven't seen. He
doesn't. It doesn't feel like he's not been anything for a little while.
For a long time, yeah. So, so I was very glad to see him. I like the kind of action hero he is. I like his persona a lot. I actually, at some point, I thought it was fascinating because when I was thinking, he is the biggest action star of the moment, and I thought how interesting to have a British actor as the big action star of the moment, right? Because I don't remember seeing that. I mean, I think in a way, obviously there's Bond, but Bond is like almost a world of its own, right? It's not, like, an action star.
It's not like dumb action like Stallone.
Well, but I wasn't thinking only of Stallone. If you think of like Stallone or Schwarzenegger, but also I would include that, people like Bruce Willis for a while, and certainly Tom Cruise, sure. And, kind of, I can't think of a period where like the big action star in the world was a British actor, and I think Jason Statham, for a brief moment, looked like he was developing into that. So I'm actually glad to see him again doing, this kind of amusing action film. Actually,
I think Liam Neeson has been sort of poisoning himself in that position as well a little bit, but he's again kind of a specific sort of he just does guys who lose their daughters.
Well, I find no, actually that's not true. I mean, I like a lot of those films, and I think what is it, The Grey or I think it's called The Grey. Yeah. It's a fantastic movie.
And he's British. He's Northern Ireland.
True, but the thing is, so the difference between him and Statham was that at one point he really was being poised like culturally for that. Like these expandable films, they're really fantastic in the way that they set it up, because you have all of these action heroes of yesterday in the same film, right? And then you have Statham. So it wasn't just that he'd had success with, these films. What was the car one again?
The Transporter.
The Transporter film.
He's also in Fast and the Furious, apparently.
And he was in Fast. Oh, that's right. I didn't see that. Them. Yeah. So that might be kind of a gap for me, actually. Anyway, and obviously he's a lot younger, and you could see him doing kind of different kinds of action films. Whereas, I think Liam Neeson hit a kind of a streak with a very particular kind of film, that's being mined, and that it's all, he's now.
Oh, do you want to find?
I don't want to be ageist, but I think he's almost past his sell-by date as an action star, which he never really was to begin with.
I mean, if Liam Neeson can do it, he's 51.
Is he only 51?
Jason Statham's 51.
Oh no, Jason Statham.
No, yeah.
I was talking about Liam Neeson. My God, Jason Statham looks fantastic.
Yeah, he does. Liam Neeson. He is 66.
See?
What?
Well, I said he had a sell-by date as an action star. There is a.
Liam Neeson. He'll keep doing it until he dies. He's found.
No, I think he'll keep acting, till he dies. But I don't think you can do action films past a certain. I mean, even Harrison Ford, can't do them. Really.
But Harrison Ford's just like sick of life. You can tell. I don't think
he's sick of life. He's mad at life. He looks.
He strikes me as really grumpy.
Grumpy.
Like you can tell that like he really didn't want to do Star Wars again.
Like Liam Neeson is Mr. Sunshine.
No, but what I'm saying is like Harrison Ford isn't going to make a movie if he can possibly help it. I think.
Well,
and whereas Liam Neeson's like, give me more of that money.
I don't know.
Except in his voice.
No, I don't agree.
That's what I think. I think we keep doing until he dies.
Well, we shall see.
What I like about Jason Statham is that with one facial expression and one tone of voice that never changes, he can express everything from contempt to malice to anger to malevolence. It's what he does.
I don't think he even bothers to express any of those things, really.
It's just every line in the film is just it's that exact same tone of voice, exact same expression on his face.
I don't know.
Because he's Jason Statham. I love him.
But he's done much better than this as well, actually. And he's been better used than he has in this. I mean, he doesn't even get like any quips or anything.
No, I mean they try to give him the odd quip, but it's not
flop.
The dialogue is not good. But I think other jokes are, like I say, like the image of the dog swimming out to sea and then seeing the shark and turning around is great. I think the film has got a reasonable sense of humour. It's not going to win awards.
Reasonable sense of humour, but it's really bad.
It's not really bad. It's just bad. But I had fun, and you had fun too, even if it took you a while.
Yes, I admit it. Yeah, kind of, and I think actually that my story describes the film perfectly, or illustrates the film perfectly, because because the guy said first he went from being it wasn't bad to then it was shit, but actually he did it smiling, like he came out with a smile of the movie with a smile on his face, so he had a good time.
what I would say is it would be a shame if people went to see this hoping for it to be bad, in that way that we've spoken about before, people wanting to see a bad film and take pleasure in a bad film.
Yes.
We don't really like that. And, I think you do have to... It's perfectly fine to see a film and then not like it and think it's rubbish, but you have to go in kind of with honest, sort of, with kind of earnestness, you know? You want the film to be good. And I think it would be a shame if people went to this really just because they thought, oh, this is going to suck.
Yes.
You know, because that's not what I thought. I didn't think it was going to be good, but I thought it's going to be of a certain type, which is not the same thing.
Well, I think what you mean. So because in a way, I don't mind people going with the expectation of it being bad. I mean, I think
hoping. If you expect it to be bad, that's one thing, but you can't. I don't want people to like hope that it's going to be shit, so they can take pleasure in that.
Well, I mean, I'm not even sure I mind that. What I do think is that, you know, kind of people go to a movie to have a good time. And I think that's in a way that's the criteria. There are many different kinds of having a good time. Laughing at something can be one of them. But the thing is, you know, that in that sense of having a good time, I think this film delivers, though, for, you know, varied reasons.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose what I'm getting at is that the reason I'm saying that is because I don't think it's bad in that way. And so I think it would be kind of dishonest to is dishonest the right word? I don't know. But like, I just think if you go and see one of those super cheap sci-fi movies, the whole thing is that it is going to be rubbish and you're going to be laughing at it. There's nothing in it to laugh with, and there's nothing to genuinely enjoy. They are that bad. And I think this film is better than that.
Yeah, it is.
And I think to suggest otherwise is doing it a little bit of a disservice.
I don't know. I mean, you know, you can only respond as you respond, right? So I spent the whole half hour either groaning or laughing at the film, really. And it wasn't until the action kind of kicked up, you know, then I was jolted a few times, you know, and so on. And then I really began to enjoy it.
I thought you, because the film has a bunch of old jump scares throughout the opening, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You seemed to be I mean, you were jumping, so that's one thing. But like, it felt to me like you were jumping in a kind of, I enjoyed that way.
No, I did. But I think the jumps didn't even come until about an hour into the film.
No, that's not true. No. Not an hour. Fucking hell. They're underwater getting attacked by the shark within the first 25 minutes.
Yeah, but not all of them worked.
It worked on you. I was sitting next to you. You were jumping like a little baby.
All right. So
let's talk about the director. John Turteltaub. His name. Oh, he's same birthday as me. Which was the other day. Happy birthday, John Turteltaub.
Happy birthday, Mike.
If you've listened this far. Because he's done a bunch of movies. I don't know his name. Never heard of his name.
His name is familiar to me, but not for good reasons.
But he did Three Ninjas in 1992, which I bloody love.
I don't know it.
Yeah, you gotta watch it, man. It's great. Part of my childhood, that movie.
I think what I have seen are While You Were Sleeping, which was a romantic comedy that was a mild success early in Sandra Bullock's career, and that I thought, you know, very predictable and derivative. That I know. I remember Phenomenon, which was a kind of hit with John Travolta, though I don't remember very much about it really. But I have seen it, and I've seen Cool Runnings, which is great fun, and I've seen The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which is again one of those films that I think if I catch it on TV, you know, you watch it and you end up enjoying it, but also it's
yeah, I've never seen it.
It's pretty bad.
And you did the National Treasures.
I don't know those films.
Nicolas Cage. And
yes, okay.
When I was working at Blockbuster, we had them, and I thought, what is that? But apparently they're very popular. I mean, I don't think they're very popular here, but people really seem to like them in the States.
Yeah. They were popular. So really nothing very distinguished in his filmography.
Apart from Three Ninjas.
Though, you know, a considerable number of hits, really. So...
It's alright, Meg.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, you know, we had fun. But my fun did consist of laughing at the film quite a bit, of groaning at some aspects of the film quite a bit. And really what I liked best, as I said, was Jason Statham, and then, you know, the last big kind of action sequence, which actually is composed of several, really. Yeah, but kind of, you know, it's when they realize that they haven't killed a shark, they've killed a whale, you know, and then kind of...
I mean, how is that not brilliant? They killed the wrong giant fish.
So, yeah. So, but nonetheless, I mean, kind of, yeah, it ended up being fun.
Yeah, like, see everything else at the cinema first, and then if this is left, see it.
Yes.
That's what I'd say. And also, see it on a nice big screen, because that's what we did, and it was worth it.
Yes,
you know, it is better on a big screen.
Right. So, thank you very much for listening. We are on YouTube now. That's the big development for us. We now have a YouTube channel
called Eavesdropping at the Movies.
Called Eavesdropping at the Movies, and we are on iTunes, SoundCloud, Twitter, and Facebook, all as Eavesdropping at the Movies. So
pretty much. And eavesdroppingatthemovies.com is the whatever homepage.
Right.
There you go.
Okay, so thank you very much for listening.
Bye bye.